Hello everyone, welcome to Voxel. In this video, we're gonna discuss reading passage 1 of second test of Burlington Book 2. So we have already discussed test 1. So if you haven't watched those videos, you should, but after watching this one. So without further ado, let me start. So what we're gonna do is we will read the title of the text so that we can have some sort of information idea what kind of text we may be given or we have to deal with. So the title says, How much do you really know? Adapted from the Dunning Kruger effect on being ignorant of one's own ignorance. Okay, so from the title, we can guess something like it should passage should be about our knowledge, okay, of our ignorance, okay, or how ignorant are we about our ignorance. Like people, they are not ready to admit that they don't know anything they don't know something about a particular thing, so they will make stuff up, something like that. But we will be sure what kind of information it is when we will read the paragraph. But before reading the paragraph, what we're gonna do is we're gonna read the question, see what kind of questions we are dealing with, make a strategy, and then we will start reading the paragraph. So let's see the questions. So we have total questions, okay, 13. From 1 to 13 we have to solve for this paragraph. Question 1 to 4, these are MCQs. Okay, so these are the here our questions. So 1 to 4 MCQs. For 5 to 7 we have yes, no or not given, and for 8 to 13 we have to use list of words from A to H. Okay, so we have to, basically these are blanks, but for this summary we have to use words from this particular box. So what we can do is either we can solve the questions sequence wise, like solve these first four questions and then these three questions and the remaining these 8 to 13 questions. Or what you can do is read the first paragraph and solve, or read the questions, whichever question is in the first paragraph, solve that one, and then move to the second paragraph. So we will see, if we are not able to find anything in the first paragraph, we will read all the questions. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna read the first question. We were gonna read the first question, and then see, we will read the first paragraph and see if we are able to find the first question in the first paragraph itself. So the first question is, the writer uses the example of restaurants in Sydney in order to. So they're saying that the writer, he or she is using the example of restaurants where in Sydney in order to, meaning to say to show something. What he wants us to show the inavailable excuse me, show the inevitability of ignorance. So inevitability means something that is bound to happen. So what is inevitable? Like for example, you can remember it in respect to death. So like we say, death and taxes are inevitable, they will happen of course eventually. So we, all of us are eventually ignorant. Illustrate that everyone has areas of ignorance, or he wants to show that everyone has some area of ignorance. We may be expert in one area, but we will be ignorant in other areas. Emphasize other people's lack of knowledge, or he want to emphasize on what, on other people's lack of knowledge. Make their statements less controversial. Okay, or he wants to make statements less controversial. So if that is the case, D will be our answer. So for first we will read the first paragraph. Allow me to begin with the statement that I hope will not be too controversial. Now, the writer is saying that he wants to take, let's just say, sort of a permission to make a statement, and he hopes that that statement will not be too controversial. So that just means he's gonna say something controversial. That statement is that people live their lives under the shadow of their own inevitable ignorance. So what's the statement? What he wants to say, that people, they live their lives under the shadow of their own inevitable ignorance. So we live our life under the delusion that we know like everything, or we know whatever we think we know, but in reality we don't even know a half of what we think we know. That's quite a bit of philosophical thing to say. Okay, let's move on. People simply don't know everything about everything. So that is, if you are able to implement this in your life, I believe your life will be much more easier. Because if you think that you know everything about, let's just say, your field of expertise, even you are ignorant, because even in that particular thing you may not know everything. And if you think you know everything about everything, that surely you are ignorant. There are holes in their knowledge and gaps in their expertise. Obviously we have holes in our knowledge and we have gaps in our expertise. Even though we are experts in this, in a one particular field, even then there will be some gaps. I, for example, can name many areas in which my knowledge is incomplete or non existent. So, the writer here, I refers to the writer of this particular passage. He is saying that he can name many areas in which his knowledge is incomplete or is non existent. I know nothing about the latest development in astrophysics and little about current European art. So, these are the two areas: astrophysics and current European art. If you want to know about good places to eat in Sydney, Australia, I'm not the best person to ask. And he says that if you want to ask what's the best place to eat out, okay, in Sydney, Australia, he is not the best person to ask. Because why? Because he may not, or he doesn't know anything, or he doesn't know much about it. Let's put it this way: he doesn't know much about it. So yes, this is our location. Restaurants in Sydney, places to eat. Obviously, restaurant in Sydney. So for every question, you will have about 10 seconds to tell me the answer. And for this question, this is your location, and your time starts now until I mark the location here. Your time begins now. Okay, time's up. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the answer. Okay, we will read the options together and see which is our correct option. So, A option, show the inevitability of ignorance. Can this be our answer? No. Why? Yeah, there is mention about inevitable ignorance, but he is not using the example of restaurants to show this. So here is this location, but restaurants is being talked about in this particular sentence. So obviously this cannot be our answer. B, illustrate that everyone has areas of ignorance. Can this be our answer? Yes, this is our answer. Why? Because even in this, he is saying that he is not the best person to ask. So obviously, he is trying to emphasize that or show that everyone has areas of ignorance. Even he doesn't know about the best restaurants in Sydney. So this is the area which where his knowledge is, let's just say, incomplete or non-existent. So obviously, let's read about C. Emphasize other people's lack of knowledge. Yes, he is emphasizing that everybody is not experts in everything. Even if you are an expert, there will be gaps in your expertise. But he is not using the example of Sydney to show that. Make the statement less controversial. There is something about controversy in the first sentence, but nothing in regard to Sydney. So other options cannot be our answer. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mark in this, because the red color that I use in the previous videos, it sometimes make the screen a bit too contrast. It goes too contrast or too bright for some students. So I will do this. I will use this color. I hope it is good. Now, moving on to the uh, remaining sets. Let's see if I can find other questions as well. The writer mentions that economic analysis was used to illustrate. There is no mention of economic analysis till now. So let's read his fifth question. The author suggests that ignorant people face a double burden because recognizing errors requires knowledge. There is nothing about this type of situation. Okay, so here the question is saying about something about double burden. Let me change the color for this. I will use, let's just say, green. So there is nothing about double burden. So this is not our location. Moving on to 8 to 13. Ignorance is much not recognizing, not knowing. Ignorance is much easier to recognize in others than in ourselves. He doesn't said anything about that till now, that we can easily recognize ignorance in others but we don't see it in ourselves. Like mistakes, we can easily see the mistakes of others but not our own. So wherever we will find this particular location, we will read the it's blank then until there is no use of reading. So we will read the second paragraph and hope our second question in this paragraph. Otherwise, we will read others. So wherever this is the color. So wherever is the mention of economic analysis, we will have our location there. Of course, many people may argue that ignorance is unavoidable, stating that most, if not all, of the things people are ignorant about are related to obscure topics that do not have much impact on their daily lives. So, of course, many people they will argue that ignorance is unavoidable. Obviously, you cannot know everything about everything, that is impossible. And they give the argument that uh, people are ignorant about topics, they are like obscure topics. Obviously, though, what are obscure topics that do not have much impact on their daily lives, so they are ignorant about those topics. Some economists, okay, there's something about economic, for example, have put forward the viewpoint that most ignorance is rational. In that area there in that there are areas of knowledge where gaining expertise has no tangible benefit and is therefore not worthwhile. So they're saying that they're putting forward a viewpoint, so they're giving us the suggestion or idea that most ignorance is rational in nature. So there are areas of knowledge where gaining expertise has no benefit. Like just so if you become expertise in uh, social justice, for example, so it has no tangible benefit for your career. So you can become a social justice warrior, but if you want to make a career out of it, no company will be willing to hire you. Let's just say there are other branches as well. This is coming like off to the top of my head. So they're saying like that. So let's read the options. Are unaware of their ignorance. So there is something about economic. So let's read the options then. First option is saying they are unaware of their ignorance. So people are unaware of their ignorance, are not harmed by their own ignorance. So they are not harmed, or they are okay. They are not, their lives are not put in danger because of their own ignorance. C, may not benefit by improving their knowledge. So they may not have any benefit even if they improve their knowledge. And D, may suffer economic disadvantages as a result of ignorance. So they may have some sort of economic disadvantages. They may not be able to earn more money, something like that, because why? As a result of their ignorance. So yes, there is something about economic analysis by economists. So this is our location, and I will like put the question number here, and you have around 10 seconds to tell me the answer, and your time starts now. Okay, time's up. Let's read the options together now. A option, are unaware of their ignorance. So, has the economist says people are unaware of their ignorance? No, they have just said that they have given this particular viewpoint. Okay, are not harmed by their ignorance. This cannot be our answer. So, our answer C, may not benefit by improving their knowledge. Have they said anything about not being benefited by improving their knowledge? Yes, this is in fact our answer. So, let me change the color now. So, A, are unaware of their ignorance. This is not being said by the economist. They have not also said this, and there is nothing about economic disadvantage. So, here in this particular blank, in here, they said there are areas of knowledge where gaining expertise has no tangible benefit and is therefore not worthwhile. So, similarly, they're saying that there is no benefit by improving their knowledge. So, if you gain expertise, improve your knowledge, there is no tangible benefit, there is no benefit. I hope it is clear. Let's read the other sets of questions. Let's read third question. The author gave the example of National Science. Okay, there is no mention of National Science Foundation here. So let's read this. Double burden. There is no mention of double burden in this paragraph. So this is our like location is not here of this particular question. Eighth, ignorance is much easier to recognize in others than in ourselves. There is no mention of this either, so obviously we will not have benefit of reading ahead. So now we will focus on the third paragraph, and for the third question our keyword is National Science Foundation. Okay, let's read the options now. People's lack of knowledge, so they are talking about, so they are doing survey, National Science Foundation survey. The author is giving the example of this particular survey. Why? To show lack of knowledge. The lack of knowledge can be measured. So do not get confused between these two options. Here, the A option is just saying people's lack of knowledge, like they don't have knowledge. But B is saying that their lack of knowledge can be measured, like we can draw a chart, or that can be given some numbers, okay, some percentages, something like that. See the importance of scientific knowledge. So they're talking about the importance of scientific knowledge. And the ignorance is normal. Like it is normal to be ignorant. Let's read the paragraph and see if there is mention of National Science Foundation here. I believe that these views on ignorance are mistaken. In my view, there are two main ways that ignorance does impact on people's day to day lives. First, I wish to argue that the limit of a person's knowledge is often reached far sooner than we might expect. For example, in contemporary society, people must filter a large volume of news about scientific facts on such important issues as the environment, medical treatment, and biotechnology. So he's saying that this author is saying that the limit, it is reached far sooner than we might expect. So whatever our limit of let me do this. Okay, what's happening here? Just 1 second, guys. Okay, so whatever the limit of our knowledge is, we reach that particular limit much sooner than we might expect. Like if we want, in this particular modern society, we have to filter a large volume of news about scientific journals, or you can say important issues like environment, medical treatment, or biotechnology. In that regard, US based National Science Foundation, okay, here it is, National Science Foundation, in its biannual survey, so here is something about survey of scientific knowledge, has found large gaps in the American population's grasp of basic scientific facts. So what they have found, they have found large gaps in the American population grasp of basic scientific fact. Like even the basic facts, they people do not know about. People are ignorant about it. People do not know about even the basic scientific facts. In its 2008 survey of roughly 1,500 United States adults, only 51% could successfully identify that it was Earth that revolved around the Sun rather than other way around. Okay, so they have surveyed around 1,500 United States adults, and only 51% could identify this basic scientific fact, that it is the Earth that rotates around the Sun, and not the Sun that rotates around the Earth. Okay, so this basic fact is not known to 49% of those 1,500 people. That's a lot, because this particular knowledge we are taught in like uh, middle school, or you can say when we are in like we're 10 to 12 years old. So, okay, let's see. So, this is our location. You have around 10 seconds to tell me the answer, and your time starts now. Okay, time's up. Now I'm gonna mark the answer first, then we're gonna discuss which why others are, why that is the answer and others are not the answer. And the answer is, which option have you marked? A, B, or C? A, B, C, or D? Yes, A option. People's lack of knowledge. Where it is written, has found large gap in basic scientific facts. Even here it is written 51% successfully identify it was earth that rotate around the sun and not the other way around. Okay, let me first mark here. I will write the location here, then then we will discuss others. Okay, so B option, that the lack of knowledge can be measured. There is nothing mentioned about, though there is value, there are values given 51%. Okay, but they are not the values of the like knowledge that is measured. These are the values of people who were being surveyed. So this is not the measuring of knowledge, this is the measure of the number of people. The importance of scientific knowledge, though it is the scientific knowledge is being talked about, scientific facts they are talked about, like earth rotating around the sun and not the other way around, but there is no statement around regarding what is the importance of this particular knowledge. Like if you don't know these facts, what will happen to you or how your life will be impacted, there is no mention of that. So this cannot be our answer. Ignorance is normal, they even that is not being implied by this. So our answer is A option. I hope it is clear. Let's read the other questions as well and see if we have other options. The author suggests that ignorant people face a double burden because there is nothing mentioned about double burden. So let's move on. Ignorance is much easier to recognize in others than in ourselves. So there is no mention of this. Uh, so we will read it later. Now we're gonna read the next paragraph and see whether the fourth question is in this paragraph or not. So our fourth question keyword is Dunning Dunning Kruger effect is summarized as, okay. So we have to uh, tell about basically the conclusion of this particular effect, a measure of people's ignorance. So this particular effect is about measuring people's ignorance. Ignorance not being recognized by the ignorant. So this effect just summarizes that whoever is the person, they do not person do not know about their own ignorance. In simpler terms, the frequency with which errors are made, so they are talking about how many errors we are making, or the frequency, how frequent errors are being made. The ability of intelligent people to recognize their limitations. So the intelligent people, they have the ability to recognize their limitations. So normal people, people who are not that intelligent, they are ignorant about their limitations. But intelligent people, they can easily recognize their limitations, like what they can do or what they cannot do. Let's read the fourth paragraph. But it is the second assertion that may be more important, that people don't really know where their knowledge ends and their ignorance begins. It is perhaps ironic that, okay, let me just explain something to you. So now this is the second assertion because they are talking about the two things. So two main ways. Uh, there were two main ways. First is this. Now second is this. That people, they do not know where their knowledge ends and their ignorance begins. So they might have some knowledge of a particular topic, but if we talk about in-depth knowledge, they may not have that particular thing, but they don't know where their knowledge and, like, basically the extent of their knowledge, like they have 50% knowledge of that topic, some, or 100% knowledge of that topic. So they don't know where their knowledge ends and their ignorance begins. It is perhaps ironic that one thing people are most likely to be ignorant about is the extent of their own ignorance, where it starts, where it stops, and all the space it fills in between. So people, they are do not know about the extent of their own ignorance, like where their ignorance starts, where it stops, basically knowledge stops, and all the spaces in between. Okay, arguing that ignorance tends to be invisible can be difficult because many people may have a hard time relating to it. So if we argue that ignorance is invisible, it is basically very difficult thing to do, because many people they have hard time relating to it. So if you say you are ignorant, or you are also like other people who do not know when they are ignorant, you may not be able to relate with it. You will say I am not ignorant, I know about my knowledge, my limitations, but when that thing comes to it, you are as ignorant as others. If they try to introspect about ignorance in their own life, they will, okay, what is happening here? Mhm. Okay, they will come up empty, but there is manifestation that is quite visible that people do relate to it. It is not the ignorance they witness in themselves, rather it is the ignorance they witness in others. So what they are saying that, so when they introspect, when they look at their own, look in the mirror, basically they will come up empty handed, like they will come up empty, basically they will not find any fault in themselves. So what happen is they will witness ignorance in themselves, rather than sorry, it is not the ignorance they witness in themselves, rather it is ignorance they witness in others. So they are witnessing ignorance in others, but they are not able to witness ignorance in themselves. So I hope this is ringing some bells, the location of some particular question here. So let's see fourth question. There is no mention of summarization of Dunning-Kruger effect. So obviously this is not our location. Just guys, let me do one thing here. Let me do this. It will be easy to make you understand what happened. Okay. So there is no mention of the summarization of Dunning-Kruger effect. So this cannot be our location for this answer. There is no mention of double burden either. But is there mention of ignorance is much easier to recognize in others than ourselves? Yes. So this is the second assertion, and in the last sentence it is written clearly. So let's read the eighth. So these are the words that we have to be careful about. We have to write this. The dash of people's ignorance can sometimes be surprising when what appears to be self dash facts are unknown to large proportions of a population. Okay, let's read the eighth question first, then we will read the words. The dash of people's ignorance can sometimes be surprising when what appears to be self dash facts are unknown to large proportions of a population. So the options are A repeated, B evident, C respect, D tested, E mistake, F unaware, G knowing, and H extent. So yeah, there is answer in this particular paragraph. So you have around 10 seconds. Tell me the first eighth option, and your time starts now. Okay, time's up. I'm gonna write the answer here and see if you were able to figure out the correct answer or not. And the answer is option number H. Extent. Re- be careful that the words that you choose in this for in from these like this box, the words should be grammatically correct, the sentence should be grammatically correct, it should make proper sense, it should not be like other way around. Like let's just say if I say repeated, the repeated of people ignorance, it will not make any sense. The evident of, if it was evidence it would make sense. The evidence of people's ignorance can sometimes be found somewhere, but the evident, no, it will not make any sense. The respect of people, no, nothing. The tested of people's ignorance, no. The mistake of people ignorance, the unaware of, the knowing of, the extent of people's ignorance. Even if you haven't found the word here, still, if you do it like this, you will still be able to figure out one or two words, or you will be able to eliminate most of the words because they will not fit that particular option grammatically. So, where it is written, extent of people's ignorance can sometimes be surprising. Yes, here. Let me change the color for this one. Let me pick this, which is good contrast. Other, yeah, let me pick this. So here it is written. It is perhaps ironic. So they're surprised, paraphrased as surprising, and here it is written extent. And let me do this. Question 8. I hope it is clear. When what appears to be self dash facts are unknown to large proportions of a population. So we have read something about proportions of population here. Yeah, 51%. This is large proportion of population. Okay, this is proportion of population basically. Okay, and we have to figure out here what's the unknown. So what should be the answer to the question number 9? And your time starts now. Time's up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write the answer here. And the answer to the question number 9 is option number B, self evident. So if we will look at the paragraph later, but even if you look here the options, self repeated facts are unknown to large proportions of people. It can, but it will not make much sense of this. Self evident, yeah, what are self evident facts? Those facts which are like known. Self respect facts, it will not make any sense. Self tested facts, how can facts test self test themselves? Self mistake, self unaware, self knowing, self extent. Other options will not make any sense grammatically. So, where it is written, self evident facts, yes, found large gaps in the basic knowledge, basic scientific facts. So, let me write here. So, basic scientific facts, self evident facts. So, uh, let me do this. So, basic, here it is. So now you will be able to understand easily. So basic scientific facts, those facts that are self-evident. So these are so basic that you should know what kind of fact that Earth rotates around or revolves around the sun, not the other way around. Okay. So let's read the 10th question now. Yet these people are often dash of these gaps in their knowledge, even when making dash errors. So there is nothing about even. Okay, 10th question. If I don't even look at this, I will be easily able to tell you the answer. So again, you have some time to tell me the answer of question number 10, and your time starts now. Okay, time's up. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna write the answer here. If you need more time, you should pause the video, and when you are ready with your answer, you can continue. And the answer and the answer is option number F, unaware. So yet these people are often unaware of these gaps in their knowledge. Where it is written like at quite a few places. Let me mark. Here it is written first. If we talk about first thing, here it is written people don't know really where their knowledge ends. Okay, and here it is also written many people have hard time relating to it. ignorance tends to be invisible. So again, if they introspect, they will come out empty handed. So basically they are unaware where about their you can say gaps in knowledge. Okay, so let me write here, then we will move forward. Okay, 11th, even when making dash errors, so we haven't read anything about, some will not recognize their ignorance or incompetence, especially with those with the least skill or knowledge. So we haven't read about people that have the least skill or knowledge. So wherever we will read these about these people, where our location will be there. Okay, now double burden, we haven't read about that in this paragraph. Neither we have read about Dunning-Kruger effect. Okay, so let's read the next paragraph. For any given skill, some people have more expertise and some have less and some a lot less. Okay, so it is something about least skill knowledge. So some a lot less. We will come to it later. First, we will read the entire paragraph, then we will come to the other questions. What about those people with low levels of expertise? Do they recognize it? According to the argument presented here, people with substantial gaps in their knowledge or expertise should not be able to recognize those gaps. So they are saying that people who have, let me change the color first. So they are saying that people who have substantial meaning to say a lot of gaps in their knowledge or expertise, they should not be able to recognize those gaps. They should be the most ignorant persons, despite potentially making error after error. So despite they are making error after error, so they are making repeated errors, they should tend to think that they are doing just fine. What they think is they are doing just fine, though they are making errors after errors. In short, those who are incompetent or lack of a better term, for a lack of a better term, have little insight into their incompetence, and assertion that has come to be known as the Dunning-Kruger effect. This is the form of ignorance that is visible to people in everyday life. So here is about Dunning-Kruger effect and what it has come to be known as, and what's the result of this has been discussed in this paragraph. Okay, so you have around 10 seconds to tell me the answer of question number 4, and your 10 seconds start now. Okay, time's up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the answer first. And the answer, which option have you marked? A, B, C, or D? And the answer is B option. Ignorance not being recognized by the ignorant. I believe it was self evident. So here it is. In the entire text it was saying that people with the yeah, people with the substantial gaps in their knowledge or expertise should not be able to recognize those gaps. Despite making error, they are thinking they are doing just fine. So they have little insight into their incompetence. So those who are incompetent or lack of, for a lack of a better term, have little insight into their incompetence, an assertion that has come to be known as Dunning-Kruger effect. So let me mark here. I hope it is clear. That's question number 4. Is it clear? Okay, let's read the other questions now. Question 5th and 7th, double burden. We don't have anything about double burden. Now, 11th question, those with the least knowledge, yes. What about people with the low expertise? Here it is something about that. So obviously this is our location. Now you have around 10 seconds to tell me the answer out of these options, which is your answer, and your time starts now. Okay, time's up. So I'm gonna write the option first here and see whether you were able to find the correct answer or not. And the answer is option A, repeated. Even when making repeated errors, some people or some will not recognize their ignorance or incompetence, especially those with the least skill or knowledge. So here they're saying they do not recognize this. So despite potentially making error after error. So error after error is okay. Instead of this, yeah, let me do this because these are quite a few words. So this is question 11. So error after error basically means repeated error. So they are making errors repeatedly. I hope it is clear. Let's read the 12th question. Let's see if that there is answer here or not. This can be because the skills needed to recognize an error depend on the skill being something. So they are saying that why this is happening, why people who are incompetent or those who don't have the required knowledge, they make error after error because there is particular skill that we need to recognize error, and that particular skill depend on this skill being something. Okay, so if I just go on the grammar, I can mark an option, one particular option for this. But what I will do, I will not do but that particular thing. When we will find the location, we will mark the answer only then. Okay, so obviously our answer is not in this paragraph. It will be like in the upcoming or in the following paragraph. So when we will come to it, we will mark the answer. And now we have marked the four questions. Okay, now the fourth question. So let me do this. So a measure of people's ignorance, there is nothing talked about being measured, there is nothing about the frequency, and there is nothing about the ability of intelligent people to recognize their limitations. So this is not the summarization of Dunning-Kruger effect. Okay, so we haven't read anything about double burden. So wherever we will read about double burden, that will be our location. So let's read this paragraph and hopefully our answer will be here. When it comes to the judgment of performance based on knowledge, poor performance may face a double burden. Okay, there is something about double burden here. So now we're gonna read the question, and so that we will be able to find the answer if it comes here. The author suggests that ignorant people face a double burden. Yes, based on knowledge, poor performers may face double burden. Ignorant people face a double burden because recognizing errors require knowledge. So if recognizing errors require knowledge, then poor people faces double burden. If that is the case, our answer will be yes. But if recognizing errors do not require knowledge, or recognizing errors doesn't require knowledge, it requires something else, our answer will be no. And if we don't know whether the double burden is because of this particular situation or any else situation, the answer will be not given. I hope it is clear. So let's see. First, gaps in their expertise may lead them to make many mistakes. Second, those same those exact same expertise gaps may lead them to be unable to recognize when they were making mistakes and when other people were choosing more wisely. So what they're telling us that why they face double burden, these are the two reasons obviously. First is that gaps, their expertise, that will lead them to make mistakes. And second is that those exact gaps, they will become unable to recognize what errors they were making while other people were choosing more wisely. Okay, so this is our location, and I believe it's a very straightforward question. You will have around 10 seconds to solve this particular question, and your time starts now. Okay, time's up, and our answer to this question is yes. I hope everybody was able to arrive at the correct answer, because it is quite evidently written that first, because of your lack of knowledge, lack of expertise, you will make many mistakes. And second burden is that because of the exact same expertise gaps, because of the exact same reason of your lack of knowledge, you will be unable to recognize when you are making mistakes and others are choosing wisely, because in your mind you are doing everything right, because you don't know any better than you already know. So that because of that you will continuously make that particular mistake again and again. Hope it is clear. Let's read the sixth question now. Weaker students often feel discouraged when trying to improve. Okay, wherever is the mention of weaker students, we will read this question then. Okay, let's see if our answer to any other question is here in this paragraph. This can be because the skills needed to recognize an errors depend on the skills being something. So yes, we have read something about recognizing errors, but we haven't read anything about the skills we need to do this. So let's read the remaining paragraph. To further illustrate this, consider the process of assessing whether a sentence is grammatically correct. The process of assessment relies on the same set of skills needed to produce a grammatically correct sentence in the first place. So now they have given the example. Let's just say you want to assess, or you are like checking a paper or checking some homework of a student, and you want to see, or like you want to check whether that particular sentence is grammatically correct or not. Now, whether you will be able to find out any errors or not will depend on your ability to produce that particular sentence grammatically correct in the first place. We can conclude that if poor performers have knowledge or skill gaps that cause them to produce errors, those same skill gaps will prevent them from accurately spotting those errors in their output. So now they're saying that we can conclude from here, but we can conclude that if poor performers, they have knowledge or skill gaps that cause them to produce errors. So if they are knowledgeable, or if they have knowledge about their errors or about their lack of knowledge per se, they will be able to find out the errors in others writing as well. For example, as a teacher, if I know about certain rules, only then I will be able to check your work according to those rules or those particular sentence formations. Okay, now this there is the location in this particular paragraph. You will have around 10 seconds to tell me the answer, and your time starts now. Okay, time's up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write the answer here and see whether you were able to find out the correct answer or not. And the answer is option D, tested. So where it is written here, let me mark. So so they're saying that because the skill needed to recognize an error depend on the skill being tested. So if your skill is a particular skill is being tested, obviously if you are good at it, only then you will be able to find out errors. So if you want to coach, if you want to give coaching to some persons or so someone, you will only be able to coach them if you are an expert or if you have the required skill set. If you do not know how to play the game, if you do not know the rules, how are you gonna teach those skill set to the other or to your students? So if your skills are being tested, so if you have the required skill set, only then you will be able to recognize an error. I hope it is clear. Let's read the 13th question now. Another reason may be defensive. Okay, so now we are talking about another reason. People ignoring their failings in order to preserve their self. Okay, This is, I don't think we have to read the paragraph. Let's just say if it was the last question of my test, I don't think I would need to read the paragraph, because this option is staring me right at the face, right? Okay, staring right at me. It's so obvious that I can like just mark it here with 100% confidence that I will not be incorrect. Can you tell me which option I am thinking about should be here? Yes, it should be option number C, respect, because we want to preserve our self respect. Other options do not make any sense here. Okay, but we will try to find the location in the paragraph. Then we will mark the answer here. Before that, I will not mark the answer. But in the exam, if that's the scenario, you do not have to waste time on such questions. Okay, let's read the other questions now. Weaker students, we haven't found about any weaker students. So only two paragraphs are left. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shift it to the next page. Okay. So these two paragraphs are left. However, pointing out people's skills and knowledge gaps does not necessarily motivate them to overcome their limitations. So obviously, if you're only pointing out to their like people's lack of knowledge or gaps or skills, it doesn't motivate them to overcome their limitation. Okay. In a recent study on emotional intelligence, business school students were given an individual emotional intelligence score and shown how it related to national norms. Researchers then offered the students the opportunity to buy a book, Emotionally Intelligent Management, at a 50% discount. Of the students with the highest emotional intelligence scores, 64% wanted to purchase the book. Of the students with the lowest scores, only 19% were interested. It is interesting to consider why low scoring students were resistant to acknowledging their own ignorance and taking action to fill their knowledge and skill gaps. It may be that motivational deficiencies aimed at their self-esteem are sorry keeping self-esteem high are to blame. So they're saying that those two they have like they went to a university or business school. Okay, they went to a business school and then they graded students according to this particular criteria, emotional intelligence score. So those students who scored the most, okay, out of those 64%, okay, highest 64% wanted to purchase that particular book, and the lowest only 19% were interested. So they wanted to understand why these low scoring students, they were not willing to buy that particular book to improve their scores, to improve their emotional intelligence, whatever that test was. They think that the main case is that their self esteem is stopping them. So their deficiencies aimed at keeping their self esteem high are to blame. So they do not want to admit that they are weaker or they are emotionally not intelligent, whatever the test says. So in order to preserve their self esteem, their ego, they are not willing to buy that particular book, even it means they are giving up a chance to improve themselves. So let's see. Weaker students often feel discouraged when trying to improve. So this is the like location of our question. We are talking about students, intelligent and the like not that intelligent students, weaker students. So you have to tell me the answer. Is it yes, no, or not given? For this, you will have around 10 seconds again, and your time starts now. Okay, time's up. I'm gonna write the answer here and see whether you were able to arrive at the correct answer or not. And the answer is not given. Let me first mark the answer, then I will tell you why it is not given. So here it is. So here it is, location of question number 6. Why it is not given? Because they're just saying that 19% of the week, 19% of the lowest scoring students were interested in buying the books. But do they feel discouraged when they are trying to improve, or they feel encouraged to improve themselves? So the question is, when trying to improve. So we don't know what happens when they try to improve. We only know 19% of them wanted to improve, but what happens when they're trying to improve? This particular information is not given to us, so that's why the answer to this will be not given. I hope it is clear. Okay, let's move to the seventh question. The author concludes that ignorance is never beneficial. So this is some sort of conclusion. What the author concludes, that ignorance, it cannot be beneficial at all. Like in any circumstance, ignorance cannot be beneficial. So if that is the case, answer will be yes. But if there is some situation, or even one particular situation where ignorance can actually benefit you, the answer will be no. When we don't know whether ignorance can be beneficial ever or it cannot be, the answer will be not given. But in this paragraph, we do not have this particular situation. So, but we have the answer of 13th question. As already discussed, I'm going to write it here. We will not waste time. The answer to this will be C, and here it is written. Self-esteem. Let me just do this first. So in order to preserve their self-esteem, so keeping their self-esteem high, so they want to keep their self-esteem high. Basically they want to preserve their self-esteem, so these things are to blame. I hope it is clear why it is self-esteem. So self-esteem, self-respect, it's one and the same thing. Now only one question is left, and this is the last paragraph, so obviously it should be in the last paragraph. Whether it is yes, no, or not given, let's read this paragraph together. Is it possible that ignorance really is bliss? So here is something about ignorance being beneficial. We often view levels of confidence as a positive attribute, energizing people to achieve their goals, even seemingly impossible ones. But could ignorance be an advantage? In moments when people must act decisively, perhaps being wise is not such a good idea. So they're saying that we what we do is we attribute positive things with confidence. Okay, we give people like these kind of motivational speeches that they should be confident because it will help them to achieve their goals, sometimes even the impossible ones. But can ignorance be an advantage? So beneficial advantage. So obviously this is our location, and you have around 10 seconds to tell me the answer, whether it's a yes, no, or not give not given, and your time starts now. Okay, time's up. And the answer to this question is, drum roll please. Answer is no. I hope you arrived at the correct answer. If not, don't worry. I'm going to explain it to you why it's no. So the question is saying that ignorance can never be beneficial. So ignorance cannot be beneficial at all. But here they're saying that in the moment, so the time when you must act decisively, perhaps, so maybe being wise, it's not a such a good idea. So if you are wise, if you are like too much you can say knowledgeable person, if you're too wise, that may not be such a good idea because you will hesitate. Okay, so there is one saying that wise friends are beneficial because they will give you good advice, but sometimes it is better to have ignorant friends. So uh, not so wise will be better word. not so wise friends, because they will help you in the times of trouble. Because wise friends will see all the positives and negatives, they will evaluate all the negatives or the positive of that particular situation. But the friends who are not that wise in that particular sense, if I talk about that particular sense, they will help you without thinking twice. So this is, but this is the same thing they are being said, that perhaps being wise is not such a good idea. So that's why ignorance is beneficial at that particular time. I hope it is clear. So we have completed all the questions. So this is how you should approach your reading. So if you do like this, you will be able to find the correct answers every time without fail. So if you want our help, you can go to our website. I will leave the link in the description or the bio. So you can go to our website and you can enroll in our video course. If you're struggling with your writing and or speaking, you can enroll in that video course. In that course, we will teach you all our tried and tested methods for task 1, task 2, and speaking, all the three parts of speaking. We have helped thousands of students to achieve band 7 or more in the writing and or speaking. Even if you're struggling in the reading module and listening module, we have made dedicated videos on all the types of questions, be it listening or reading. So in which we have discussed in detail how to solve every type of question, so that you will be able to understand every question in detail. So if you want to book our writing correction service, you can do that also. If you want to book one-to-one speaking slot with us, you can do that also. So that's it for this video. I will see you in the next video or the second passage. Till then, take care and goodbye.